right? Unless your hair is done, people wouldn't even recognize you. They're just like, what's happening?
Did you hit the button already?
I did.
I'm not ready. I know.
Sometimes it's just like, screw it, Jimmy. I'm going to hit the button.
I was fixing my hair, man.
I know. Makes it more fun. Yeah, I think like it'd be hilarious to go back and get the first 30 seconds of every show we've ever done because they're kind of purposefully so just unbelievably ridiculous. It's because I think we're pretty consistent with that. Anyway, hey, listen, we got Steve McGarry from Grow Your Base here. We chatted with Grow Your Base a few months ago. Mostly actually in the context, this was even before the uplift. We were talking to them about uplift art and everything they were doing, and it's really fancy. We're gonna get an update, but I think like we'll probably have to start Steve from scratch just to kind of get the main thing. And I want to hear, we were just talking about the fact that Grow Your Base has a nice chunk in Sandbox, and by nice chunk, like it might be like a big one. I want to hear all about that. Anyway, so we can get into it. Steve, how you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing great. It's good to finally put a face to the Twitter avatar and meet you guys, get to know you a little bit. And we definitely have bought up some land in Uplift and have been building on it actively. So it's good to actually kind of connect with you guys and chat about what you guys are working on too, just to get a behind the scenes look.
We're gonna have to go visit.
Yeah, where are you guys? What world? What sector?
I'll have to send you like a link after the stream and everything, so you guys can peep and see everything. But we're working with a videographer right now to do some cool.
Oh, are you keeping it on the DL in the uplift right now?
Oh yeah.
What the hell? All right, hey community, if you know where Grow Your Base is, just like whisper it to me. Just like just put it in this little ear right there. I'm excited about that now. I was like, ooh, there's something secret.
Oh yeah.
In this world,
we're trying to keep it nice and on the DL. That's awesome. We're gonna have just released a little bit of content about what we're building.
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean,
you just wiped Corey's calendar of all the free time he's gonna have because he's just gonna be flying over every world looking for any hint of.
Shut up! I am not. I totally am. That's totally real. That's the thing that's gonna happen. Man, I love that we started putting beehives on these things, guys. Like, come on now. There's just beehives. It's just good. So yeah, if you have a gratitude monument up anywhere, fam, put some flowers up. Somebody left us a vote. Thank you for that. Put the flowers up around and add some beehives on there. Bees are gonna save the world or stop us from going extinct, which is kind of important.
And also shout out to Dennis Maxlife on Twitter, his @LonzoRat. He sent me a DM the other day that put something on our radar that we're trying to get on the channel for next week. But they're basically an olive tree farm that are using like NFTs for like company funding and stuff like that in Cyprus, no doubt. And like if you guys are sending us messages like that on Twitter, like thank you, we love it. That's awesome.
That's the Sammy Snake community too, hey?
I did, but I forgot, and I do know them. It looked familiar, so yeah, why did I just messaged? I didn't know that I knew them, and I did. Okay.
Fractionalized ownership of an olive tree farm. It's probably not the right way, but anyway, hey Steve, what are you grateful for this morning? Big, small, doesn't matter.
Today I am grateful for the weather here. I think the weather here in Tampa, Florida is beautiful, nice and sunny. Get a little hot, but I think weather's underrated constantly. So it is quite nice here. How about you?
Yeah, I actually I spent almost 14 years just north of Tampa, playing all over that town, having a good time. Yeah, I love it there.
Yeah.
Yep. Jimmy, what were you saying?
I'm beginning to realize that like maybe Florida is underrated in my mind because like everyone's there, right?
It's pretty good. I mean, that Bozak is here in Miami now. Adriana's here in Miami now. Like
Sean's there from Crypto Rider. Like now we know Steve's there. Like Greg's there.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Did you see? I feel so bad for Block One anytime they say anything that Adriana hears, because she just goes in. She just goes in with a baseball bat. They said something about, hey, we had to move 83,000 EOS and just wanted to let everyone know it was to pay a contractor. and she comes in and goes like, pay a contractor for what? And I was like, oh, maybe they needed to buy the bullish.com is for sure a real thing.com URL. But she just came in vicious. It was, and I kind of love her for it. Even though I'm sure Block One has the best intentions in the world, they just keep falling on their dick.
Yeah,
anyway,
we went over that last night on the podcast a little bit, but
all right. Sure. Well, Jimmy, what are you grateful for, other than the fact that you're going to someday move to North Beach so you can be near your bro, and by that I mean me, not Bozak. although he's also close.
I'm grateful for our awesome Uplift team today. I had 3 days of networking with different team members over different things, and every single person on that team is equally awesome in their own unique, original ways. And it couldn't be a better place for me to call home. And yeah, everyone's just awesome on every level. I'm also grateful to meet Steve because I knew a little bit about like GrowYourBase, but I didn't realize he has a whole YouTube following and does all of this really interesting stuff. So
yeah, I think Steve, let's start there. Tell us literally everything. Start at the beginning. Fill us in. What's going on?
Yeah. So after birth,
you'd be surprised how many people don't start there.
Yeah, they don't start at zero.
Right.
So majored in economics, lot in game theory was my focus, and decided in 2013, while I was in Cambridge, Massachusetts, I saw a sign that like old school sign that says magic wizard money. Like pixelated wizard, and it was like stick it to the banks, buy Bitcoin, and I was like, what is this?
I'm going to there.
Yeah, I had to learn what it was, and it had the subreddit our Bitcoin on there, and dug a little bit deeper into it, and that was the aha kind of rabbit hole that I fell down into in 2013, and then built a peer-to-peer lending business kind of out of the spirit of peer-to-peer, just because I thought it was a beautiful thing. And that was in 2015. After moving out to Silicon Valley, sold that to Max Levchin, one of the founders of PayPal, in 2015. And then after that, me and my business partner from that company started GrowYourBase. And it is like an NFT membership style program where people get access to exclusive NFTs within the metaverse. So the idea is that it's kind of like a community driven fund, just focused on the metaverse at large. So like you were mentioning earlier, we have quite a big stake in Sandbox. I just did an interview with Sebastian, who's awesome, on my channel that I've been developing over the past few years, like you talked about, on YouTube. And it kind of just originated with education. So I really wanted to educate people of the elderly generation. My parents, I got them into Bitcoin at like $400, and they were like, you need to teach other people. And I was like, okay. So started making some content around that. And now I'm interviewing people like Sebastian from Sandbox, and, getting to meet awesome people like you guys. And it's just
we just need to make a day of this. Like yesterday, our guest was Miss Team Crypto, and her whole motive is like educating like younger people, and your whole motive is educating elderly people, right? Like it's a nice balance right there. I mean, yeah, that's just about everyone.
And there is a need for the simplification of all this stuff, right? Like a huge need. It's just we often operate in this echo chamber where even the simplest words that we use to each other in the lingo in the crypto space just makes zero sense and is a foreign language to the rest of the world. So yeah, I follow Miss Teen Crypto. She's doing a great job of simplifying things down, and I like supporting education like that. For sure.
Yeah, I like, as an educator, I think that it's kind of sad, but it's kind of good. Like, it's kind of sad that like we basically have to educate people about stuff that they probably should be learning in school. But at the same time, it's good that there are like, solid stand-up people like your guys and like you and Miss Team Crypto, and sometimes us, depending upon the state of my mind, when I'm not so confused. But yeah, like, like it's really a good thing to see. But the thing I like about your channel, you know what I like about your channel the most? And I don't know that much about your channel, but the thing I like about your channel the most is your like top cover image. Like that is like the sweetest like channel image ever. Like I'm gonna pull it up. It's on the YouTube like descriptor below, but you're sitting there in the forest or in the grasslands with a computer, and there's like a cow or a horse or something, like it's just like, I don't know, is it a unicorn? I can't remember, but like it's just like that's the sweetest cover image ever. Like I don't know if that you were actually sitting in that location or if you photoshopped it, but like it's just really good.
So that was done by a lot of money, the artist, the guy on Twitter who, you know, he's kind of well known. He was working with McAfee, R.I.P. McAfee. He was working with him full time for a while. I think it was in the Caribbean, and he's an incredible artist. And that was maybe 2018 when he did that for me. And really a fantastic and kind of distorted reality artist that I really like. And I followed a lot of his stuff over the years, and I really enjoy a lot of his stuff. So he did that, the unicorn and all. In all its glory.
Which one? Can we see that one? Where is that one?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up now. Just a sec. I'm trying to pull it up, and I don't want to like have the double voice thing because we do that way too much already. So just give me a minute.
All right, fair enough. So, sorry, go ahead.
He's done a lot of really cool work and banner art for, I think he did some for Bozak. You mentioned earlier, the Ultimate Bro. He did a lot of stuff there. He had everybody's Twitter banner back in the day. He was really cranking them out. And he reached out to me, I think it was maybe 3 months ago or so, and said like, hey, thank you so much for supporting me early on. I'm just going to mint this for you. And he just sent me it in an NFT, which I thought was so cool to be an early supporter, and he minted it and everything. It was awesome.
Like, how good is that? That's so good.
Yeah, he has the little rabbit, and yeah, like just put my head on this body. Yeah, hack your crypto education.
And like the zeros and ones and the blue sky in the background, like the bank behind the grassy knoll, right? Like it's really, I love it. This is the best cover image ever, potentially. Like CIA, I mean, you know, that's great.
Yeah.
I know it stands for, you know, not
he's
CIA.
Sent some cool stuff. Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, I actually gave people your other YouTube channel. Let's give them this one too. All the things.
Yeah, I've been creating YouTube content for like 6 or 7 years now, and focused on YouTube for crypto specifically by 5 years ago, and just doubled down on that just because it was too much fun. I mean, learning all these different projects coming out, seeing Ethereum when it first rolled out, and learning about that, and just learning about all the different intricacies that were coming after that. And yeah, it's too fun learning about all these new projects. And I think that the people out there talking about, you know, shit coins versus Bitcoin and things like that, it's more important to just meet the teams that are building things and learn their motives, learn why they're building things, and just dig into what they're actually doing before bashing it. That's always been my kind of motto when it comes to YouTube, and I've met some pretty sweet true entrepreneurs out there building in this space, you know, that are very underrepresented.
Yeah, that's definitely, I love that approach. Is we, you know, sort of came at that knowing that, you know, Jimmy and I wanted to do this show again. We were going to do it like once a week. That's adorable. You don't do anything once a week in a bull market. What? Anyway, so like we ramped up for a while. We were doing like every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And the whole point is we want to talk to, you know, to teams, to personalities, to people that are building things in the space. And it's such joy. Like I remember trading through my first crypto cycle was the last one, you know, 16, 17, 18, whatever. And, you know, trading constantly, waking up in the morning, trading my nards off, you know, basically made a tiny little bit more money than my buddy who just put money in 2016 and then like walked away for a year and a half. Like, fuck, well, that was dumb, right? And watching all the stress with people now, and it's, I keep trying to like kind of just gently push into the culture as much as I can. Like, if you're building something, the day-to-day fluctuations in the market become like a really tiny little din. Like every once in a while, you see like this last big drop that we had. I literally, my reaction was, "Oh man, that was big. I don't care." Right? Like, we're just gonna go to work and keep building cool shit anyway. And there's ramifications, there's like strategic planning, whatever that we could do around that stuff. But like I'm utterly disconnected emotionally from the state of the market now, and I want that gift for everyone. And the way to do it is to be building something. Right? It's to be, building a company or building a community or, serving, a group of people in this space, however you choose to do that, as opposed to trying to like micromanage whether or not you're going to, buy the bottom or sell the top, because chances are, like statistically, you're going to fail. Right? Like that's sorry. Even in a bull market, which that, like, Steve, that freaked me out. Once I started to understand, because I like have a bit of a trading background. Mm-hmm. But in a bull market, like, I just assume everyone feels like a genius. The first trade I did in crypto, I made 700%. I'm like, this can't be real. This is ridiculous. And this is coming from like, Forex, where if I made 2% in a day, I was like, ha, yes, right? It's just a totally different thing. But I was watching people lose money all bull market last time. Like in those trading circles, people were getting wrecked constantly. Like, how is this even possible? And it's because, the monkey mind is terrible. You're gonna sell when you're afraid, which is exactly wrong, and you're gonna freaking buy more when you're ecstatic, which is exactly wrong.
Yeah, and just the people like my parents in their 60s sitting and holding outperform the maniac up and down traders on a day-to-day basis.
And over like 4 to 8 years, they'll outperform them by a lot.
Yeah,
a lot. Never mind the lack of stress that you get. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you've seen this. Like, there's a picture going around. You can Google it, and there's a few different versions of it now. That's just Bitcoin annual lows, and like anybody that starts like, "Oh my God, this is the end," like, go Google images, Bitcoin annual lows. Sit on your hands and shut the fuck up. Like, just stop, right? Because if you're super worried about what's going on with Bitcoin right now, it's because you're too focused. Like, turn the microscope off, right? Turn the telescope on and just take a much wider view.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious about the parents' story. I kind of want to know like how that went over. Like when you got your parents into Bitcoin, like did they get it right away? Like were you just like, Mom and Dad, I'm just going to do this for you. Just pay attention because this is the way, type of thing. Or like did it take them some convincing? Like did they panic like after like the first big dip? Like I kind of want to know how that went over.
Yeah. So I described it to them really roughly in 2014. I think it was like either.
Oh geez, they're like OGs. They're they're like the OGs at the retirement home. That's great.
Yeah, and the ultimate test for everybody watching and listening was that right after I had them buy, Mt. Gox got hacked within 48 hours of them buying. So their first experience was like the vertical drop right afterwards, and they called me when they saw it, and they were like, "Hey, I thought when you invest you buy low and then it goes up, it doesn't just go down."
Oh no!
And I was like, "Guys, just ignore it, turn off your computer, whatever."
And that's painful.
That was their first, and now everything's fine because it's like, okay, I've experienced the worst because Mt. Gox, people legitimately thought it was over. Everybody was like, okay, this is
justifiably, right? It was still pretty new.
Yeah. And everything just got obliterated in terms of like the quantity of Bitcoin just disappearing. So everybody was freaked out. It just felt like death in the air all over social media and Reddit. And I remember being like, oh, dang, I just lost like, it was only, I think, one Bitcoin that they'd gotten back then, but it was enough to freak them out where they were like, did you just get us into this scam thing? What's going on? But
right
now with it all over, the mainstream media and everything like that on a daily basis, and, El Salvador and all these crazy moves that are happening.
Yep.
it's just it clicks for them now. Like they get it compared to gold, and that comparison is pretty clean cut for that generation, I think. So yeah, it wasn't much convincing. I think it was just that initial trust, and then I think taking the leap in, and it was still pretty rudimentary back then. I think Coinbase was around when they tried it, or when they first bought in. I don't really remember, but yeah, it was a wild ride for them, and still is. But
right, yeah,
yeah, I told him exactly what you said, Corey. Was like, you need to do the opposite of what people are doing, which is buying when other people are fearful, and selling when ideally they never sell and can use it to transact. But
you want to be transacting when the market is ecstatic.
mm-hmm.
That's, if you're going to spend it, that's when you want to spend it, right?
Yeah. And one of the examples that I give over and over and over again about, like what we were talking about earlier with the founders, the true entrepreneurs coming into this space that are building regardless of price. My favorite one is Bradley Cam, the founder of Unstoppable Domains. I don't know if you guys know him, but I met him in 2019, probably like January or so. And he just had like one small booth at Bitcoin Miami, or North American Bitcoin Conference, and Unstoppable Domains like written in text across the front of it. And he had his laptop, and they were about to go live. And he was, pitching to everybody that he could walking by. And I remember going up to him and kind of questioning, what it means to have free domains with kind of, no censorship, and what that means for bad actors and stuff like that. And once he convinced me, I interviewed him, and lo and behold, that was the first ever interview for Unstoppable Domains. And they're, a 7-figure business, hundreds of people work there now. And, it's incredible to find true entrepreneurs like that coming in here and building regardless of the ups and downs. And that took years for him to get to where they are now. But people like him, identifying everybody that's coming into the space that ignore price, is such a valuable thing to do. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, price is fun, but at the end of the day, to me, the way I came to understand price is it's a function of the number of people that are in the ecosystem, and the number of potential meaningful transactions where they're actually buying something that they want from someone who's selling something that they want. Mm-hmm. Is ultimately, like, you could track price just based on that. Yeah. Over a long enough timeline, right? Like over a month, I don't know, doesn't matter, right? But over like that annual lows thing, it tracks with the number of active wallets on Bitcoin, right? It's the same curve. They're not different. Yeah. And so you really just have to zoom out, and then everything gets really comfortable. And then you have the mental space to be like, okay, well, this is like being at the beginning of the internet, and maybe even something completely different. What do you want to build? Like, what do you want to see, right? Which is why, I ended up working with Blue for Uplift Art, because obviously, I'm a musician. And that, of course, morphed into this Uplift World experiment that,
yeah. And I'd love to ask you guys about that, like how it came to, become a thing. How did you guys initially decide, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to build out this metaverse. I think I'm going to use, Wax. Like, how did you guys decide what pieces you were going to put together?
So first, I was born. Sorry, I've been waiting to make that joke for months. So thank you for that. So my buddy Greg and Greg, of course, is the mayor of Chicken Con now, which is funny. We were doing podcasts for years, just small ones, frankly, right? We kind of talk about anything, it was just kind of a random thing, really small audience, but dedicated, I will say. We wanted to start experimenting doing podcasts and content creation in video games. And we actually started with Fortnite. We're like two middle-aged freaking old guys, right? Basically, like, trying to do an interview in Fortnite was hilarious only because 7-year-olds were murking us every 9 seconds. It was a little disjointed. It's terrible. We're so bad at that game that it's embarrassing for everyone. Anyway, so we decided, okay, well, let's do something that's a little slower. So we like, Minecraft might be interesting, right? And we can get in there and we can, film, do audio. There's a bunch of interesting things that we can do there. And when we're interviewing a guest, we can actually have them come in and build something with us. Like there's some interesting ways that we can experiment there. And when we were, we spun up a server, we were toying around with it. A friend of ours came in just to the server and was just hanging around and built this gratitude monument. And we were kind of fascinated by that, right? Like we were moving in a totally different, not anywhere near as cool direction. And, just put a sign up, put a gratitude up. I was like, this is kind of incredible. And something just kind of shifted in my brain a little bit. And so I put up a gratitude. Like, that was fun. And then I built like 2 more monuments next to it. And then I destroyed the hill behind it and put in about 30 of them on pedestals and just kind of kept noodling around. And we built this entire cathedral around these things. And then every week we had people that were coming onto a live show with us to just, watch the sunrise in Minecraft and throw up some gratitudes. And, the building got a little bit bigger and a few more people joined the server, and, things are getting kind of interesting. There was something going on. Mm-hmm. Right. And you can still go visit that cathedral to this day. Right. It exists down the Path of Reason. I think it's just west of Cathedral 2.0, where everybody spawns into Old World. And we had to make the new big dome cathedral because the other one's full. Like we literally just filled it up. Gratitude's all over the walls, right? And that actually got us through the first little bit of everybody being in lockdown, right? And some more people started joining the server because they didn't have anything else to do. And I had been talking about duct taping a cryptocurrency to a Minecraft experience for a long time. I knew it was possible, so we could create rewards. We could sort of incentivize things in the game and have just like a cryptocurrency attached to the gaming experience, right? And I'd actually talked to a bunch of people in the space about that. It was like a little bit of interest, nothing real serious, right? So then I started working with Blue. We did that I'm Not the Bubble tune together. Did a big huge drop with Uplift Art, raised like 30 grand for Haitian Roots. And as a musician, like I made $10,000 off that drop, which was like all of my income as a musician for that year. Right. So that was like, light bulbs going off like crazy in my head. Like, this is, wait, what? What just happened? And so, I was really close with, the Uplift Art team. It's how I started hanging out with Jimmy. And, we realized that as we start protecting things in our Minecraft server, you create regions around it, and that means nobody else can build there. That was, a very important step for us. And then we realized that we could actually update the database on our side for who owns what region based on an NFT, right? And once that became clear, it's like, well, why don't we just, create worlds where people can actually own the NFT and have, permanent build rights, there or whatever. And so like we started testing that idea out and realized it was totally possible. And, ultimately ended up talking to a bunch of projects and giving them some free land in Genesis. And that, just started the cycle of people kind of getting to know that, okay, like we can go in and build in this place. And, there's a bunch of different things we're going to be able to do with it. We're going to be able to have neighbors. It's going to be persistent. And that really caught on, right? So, by the time we actually got around to doing our first little sale, everybody had kind of caught wind of what we were doing. And we sold out really quickly, which again was just a signal to us that like, okay, well, we're clearly onto something, right? And and Sandbox is a perfect example of that, right? Like that, and Decentraland, like there's this need for this kind of experience, or deep desire. And we're, really excited about, our iteration of it. We just got to pull Minecraft off the shelf. It's got, gazillions of gamification building layers that are really accessible by everyone. And, there's a bunch of different things that we're going to be focused on how to bring that experience outside. It's something we affectionately call Punch Sign Get Thing, which is a terrible name. Like we should really come up with a better name for this. But what we're going to be doing, like basically you'll be able to put up a sign, on your Grow Your Base lands, which you should definitely tell me where they are. And I'm so excited that you guys are doing this in secret. That's so fun. Oh, yeah. But you'll put a sign up, right? And people will be able to use it as a button, right? It'll basically say as a potential, like, punch the sign and get an NFT. or whatever, right? And what's going to happen is at Uplift events, the Wax account, it's going to publish that as like basically an on-chain event, right? It'll have their user ID, and it'll have their Wax account, it'll have where the sign was, and it's basically a way to lift experience out of our metaverse layer out into the real world. And we're not going to dictate what that is, right? We want projects to play around with this and come up with ways to do it themselves, right? And this is just sort of proof of concept to start figuring out how to take experiences that people are having in the Uplift and let companies and projects and people figure out how they want to map experiences outside to it. So
nice.
And the main reason we were on Wax, I actually talked to Engine before working with NBlue and Uplift Art. I had talked to Engine about their system, and the second I found out on Ethereum, I said no, because microtransactions is going to be how this really takes off in my view, and there was absolutely no way that Ethereum was going to be able to scale that, and I still don't believe they can. So, and then I started working with NBlue on Wax, and it just became obvious, right? And of course, we just dropped 1 million NFTs in the course of 30 hours, proving that you can do some real damage over here. Yeah. That said, we are chain agnostic. I had an hour-long conversation already this morning with our CEO about creating a world specifically for Binance Smart Chain and for Polygon, and we're going to have the Upliftium that people are going to start earning in their back office relatively soon, is going to be withdrawable as an NFT. And we're talking about, obviously we'll be able to withdraw those to Wax and, put them on the market, buy, sell, trade, do whatever you want to do with them there. But you'll be able to withdraw them as NFTs to the Binance Smart Chain and to Polygon and ultimately to Ethereum as well, if you want to. And on the back end, you'll be able to buy those, NFTs from those chains, whenever you want with Ethereum or Binance or Matic or whatever, and bring those back into our system as Upliftium. And I think this is like we're fast tracking this. This is all going to happen a lot faster than we thought. So we're officially chain agnostic, but we started with Wax because we were already all there, and because they can handle microtransactions at a really amazing and cheap throughput.
Nice.
I only have one problem with that whole story, which was great, by the way.
Sorry, rant semi over.
No, I mean, things happen fast. Now you know how we felt in the back rooms, right? But my problem is punch sign get thing, like that's got to stay. Any other name would be infinitely worse, right? Like that needs to stay. I'm just saying, like that's the best name ever. That's my only comment.
We should just it should just be one word though, right? Like just punch sign get thing. That's like a word now. All right, fair enough. That's half of our world, Steve, are named after spelling mistakes.
Spelling mistakes.
Yep. Londom, and they're like those Londom land posters that went out that are adorable. And they end up going for ridiculous amounts of money because you could stake them on our planet. It sounds like the roadmap is coming together. The roadmap internally is pretty well juiced. Like what people ask for us for official roadmaps all the time, and we're not going to publish it. This is an alpha. We don't necessarily like what we're going to do next month. I couldn't tell you. We've got a list of 20 things that once we're done this week, we're going to do the lowest hanging fruit and the best thing to serve the community next week. Like that's sort of where we're at, right?
And everyone on the team has a list of 20 things of their own. And when when we get together in a meeting and we bring those up, like somebody's like, we don't have time for that. Come back like in a month or a week. Like we got to do this other stuff first. So yeah,
it's super dynamic, right? Like I'm not going to make an official list of things that may or may not happen. I'm just not going to do it. But the list of things that are going to happen over the next year is real long and super fun. Anyway, I forget what I was talking about before I got sidetracked by the roadmap thing.
Well, I love the message you guys are trying to get out with the Uplift and the concept of gratitude and just being positive. I think that's really admirable, and that also is what brought it across our radar initially. So we had this thing called the Hunters Program at Grow Your Base, where members submit projects that they think we should get involved in and that they think the community would really like. And I think it was like 3 or 4 members submitted a form that said like, hey, you guys should check out the Uplift World. They have this cool message. And that was what initially got us. So the community actually brought you guys to us, which I always take very seriously because, you know, community is everything in this space, essentially. So that was how it came across our radar. And then we actually worked with someone from the community to help us with the build, hired multiple builders to come in and build within the game.
That's awesome.
And, you know, similarly,
where did you guys say that was?
It's secret. If you go to our Twitter, you can see there's some sneak peeks where there's a huge grow your base and then like some fountains coming off of it in the game. But for now, it's going to be.
Oh, dude, I love that you're doing this to me. I really do. But God damn it,
it will be soon.
So good. Oh man, that's really cool.
I love the chain agnostic approach because that is the future.
It is.
All this stuff will operate in the background, you know, all these different chains and things like that, and it'll be a seamless experience. So I like that people can come from wherever. It doesn't matter what network and utilize it, which is that's going to be huge value proposition and advantage in the coming years here.
Agreed. Hold on here. I gotta show you guys something. Oh, hello.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
So I have an idea where that is now, but I love that like remember that giant chicken? We were going down the rail at one point and like because we do this every once in a while. Like somebody just builds this random giant chicken like that. Okay, all right. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Hey, is this a back corner?
Yeah, we've seen this before on one of our
right.
travels.
I thought we had two. It looks kind of familiar.
Shh, it's secret.
Okay, I'll be quiet. It's definitely nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Don't even worry about it. Anyone who sends me a selfie from this in a DM.
It's gonna be Rob. It's gonna be like Rob Flaska because that's next to quote unquote his terrible plot. I'm sure your plot's not terrible, by the way, Rob. But like, yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned earlier about this experience being what people are seeking, and I think the past year has really solidified that with things like Decentraland, Sandbox, what you guys are working on with Uplift. I think people are seeking this sort of alternate way to interact with each other, especially with constant Zoom calls. I mean, it's just an incessant Zoom interaction with each other. So even being able to move around in this 3-dimensional way is really exciting just to change it up a little bit when we were all stuck inside,
Yeah, right. That's what people started doing, right? They would have Zoom on audio, and invite a bunch of people in, and they would just come in to the Uplift and just build stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, that one of the things that is very much on our mind is proximity audio for the Uplift, and like just a bunch of the cooler tech things that we'll be looking at over the coming months. But yeah, I mean that experience is pretty intense. One of the other things too that I didn't really see coming. These gratitude monuments are an analog. They're just an example of how we're sort of encoding a longitudinal history into this place that is persistent and it's never going away. Right. Mm-hmm. Like when I go now to that first cathedral and it's full of gratitudes and it's for my family, like it's literally almost like, and it's happening right now. Every time I bring that up, like there's some feels there. Like this is it's not like a video game, mm-hmm. right? This is a huge part of my life. Like this is where we built things, where we celebrated together, where there's a much deeper thing going on, right? Mm-hmm. And then projects like we built in for Wax, we did their the path of milestones or whatever. We keep meaning to do it for the Uplift. We're too busy freaking building this thing to do it, but we really want to see this happen not only for us but for other projects, right? built the Blue Room so that, we can start getting a record of all the freaking Amazeballs NFTs that guy creates. And, it becomes a gallery. And of course, businesses are going to be able to do this. I'm hoping to see Grow Your Base do it as well, right? Where you're featuring high def pictures for NFTs, and people can come in and buy them, or even just an ad with a QR code that says, like, if you're not part of Grow Your Base community, what the fuck's wrong with you, right? Like that, or get better marketing people than me to do your copy, right? But it becomes this thing where a year from now, you're going to go visit a neighbor or something where you stop by and threw up, something on their gratitude monument, or you see something that got built, and it becomes part of our history. We're literally encoding it into the shape of this world. And I know that there are other projects that are doing that same thing, and I can't escape the really deep feeling that this is going to have a profound effect on us moving forward, like a positive one.
Yeah. And community wise,
right.
Things like the Bored Apes, when I talked to Sebastian at Sandbox,
right,
going after communities and saying like, hey, come on in, have this unique experience within, Sandbox or within Uplift or Decentraland or wherever.
Right.
And it's created this really unique kind of network effect where people are creating avatars that are their Bored Ape design. They're creating mini games within the metaverse that have to do with like battling each other's apes and things like that. So tapping into all these really cool collections, I think, is something that is really exciting to watch happen, because that's, I think, what a picture of what the future could be, where every creator will bring their community onto these metaverse and have these unique experiences that only can exclusively exist within the features of that metaverse.
Right.
And it's just a mind melt thinking about all the types of things that can be created within these different worlds.
Right. And even how, like a creator creates a single NFT, but then creates different use cases for each of the different metaverses where it can plug in. That's the one level of interoperability that we're really excited about. What would you say? 'Cause like, I want to make sure that moving forward, like it's a core principle for us, watching how insular and tribal the cryptocurrencies have become, right? Those networks have been closed off kind of for a long time. And we see them all blended together as one network before too long, right? But there's that human tribalism now that is problematic, and it's frankly slowing the entire ecosystem down, right? So that's why we're chain agnostic. We're not going to get into this whole thing or whatever. But how could we as metaverses connect with each other in super meaningful, if not just literal ways, to make sure that we become a network of networks and not these insular islands?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think when I went to NFT NYC last year and talked to Agro, I don't know if you guys have met him. If you haven't, you should. He is the main developer, CEO of Splinterlands, and they built out initially on Steam. And when I talked to him, they were on Steam, and originally before all the chaos happened with like Justin Sun and everything. And he basically built out all the features for Steam that were needed for his game. So it was like, here's my game, Splinterlands, and I'm going to build out a wallet on Chrome. I'm going to build out all these initial tools that don't exist yet.
Right. And
the drama happened with Steam and Justin Sun, so they moved over to Hive, and he did the same thing with Hive and Splinterlands. So I was talking to him about like this, how that worked, how moving from one chain to another chain, and how we could replicate that between all these different games and all these different metaverse. And he said it really well, in that currently they're silos, and we only need to be focused on the bridges between the silos. And he talked about different ways that he could do it. And I think that things like Cosmos and some of these other projects that are solely focused on it are doing a great job. There's a project called, I think it's Pylons, that's really interesting right now. That's focusing on, I think it's the NFTs for Cosmos. So they're really trying to work with some interoperability. But for the most part, I think the communities, like I was mentioning, the Bored Apes, the Meebits, all these kind of avatar-focused companies within the metaverse, CryptoPunks, stuff like that, I think they're going to be the ones that really bridge everything, because the avatar makes perfect sense, because it's a use case immediately to say, I purchased this NFT that is an avatar. I'm going to go into every single one of these places. Your company, your network has to accommodate this in order for that to happen. So I see it being the metaverse is almost accommodating the communities instead of the vice versa.
It should be that way, right? I mean, the reason why we've managed to do as well as we've done is because Jimmy and I just went and demoed communities.
Yeah.
Right. And brought them in and allowed them to start building. And I think it all comes back to that, right? Over and over and over again. So that's really cool. So here, this is the second time today I've heard about Cosmos, and and granted we've been head down for a while, and I'd never heard of them before. Can give us a ground up? How long have they been around? What is this? Who do I talk to there, and how can we help?
Yeah. So I just did a panel for the NFT conference, I think was what it was called, with the guy at Pylons, and I'll introduce you to him after the show.
Okay.
Fantastic guy. And they're focusing on NFT, specifically on Cosmos, but Cosmos is focusing on interoperability. It's built by a company called Tendermint, and I met them in, I think it was 2017 or 2018. And they've been building for a very, very long time, and it's really focusing on the interoperability between all the different chains that exist. So I think things like them and Chainlink are kind of, I view them in the same bucket as focusing on the ways to jump between. But we'll see, right? It's like a foot race to see who's going to be able to to bring the users and everybody that's going to be able to go between all these different chains. Maybe it's the metaverses. That's where
I think so. I'm biased as hell, right?
I think you're right. I think that's where we do see this happen.
Yeah, it's
it makes sense.
Right? Jumped up to the top of my list. It's been on my list for about 6 weeks. Is the same kind of thing we did with Genesis and Gratitude, those two worlds, where we go out and we talk to 48 communities and we grant them a land grant and build those things out. I think I want to go to Binance Smart Chain and basically who are the 48 best, coolest communities around projects on this chain, right? We partner with an NFT marketplace over there because we're going to bring them, I think, a significant number of business, right? It's a decent strategic partnership for them. And we build a world, and all the NFTs they're minted on Binance Smart Chain, right? Like, you want to buy a piece of land in this world, you need the Binance coin, you're going to get it through there, right? And we're like, our system, very, very soon, you're just going to be able to buy it through a marketplace. So we're going to create where you can, spend Binance, Ethereum, whatever you want to do on whatever we're selling, right? So we're kind of working on things on that end as well, because we don't care what people want to spend. We just want to make sure that it works really well. And then, when people want to pass between those two worlds in the uplift, it doesn't matter. You just literally go to them, right? Your ownership sort of deed or whatever, that NFT would be on Binance. But if you want to have, Upliftium, you're going to be able to withdraw Upliftium as an NFT to wherever you want to do it, right? To Binance, to whatever. And then, of course, you can buy it on those marketplaces as well and bring it back into the game. And so we're sort of like creating a situation where value flow is actually good. Like, we're not intending to be a bridge, but like inside 90 days, we're going to be one, right? You're going to be able to grab, an Upliftium NFT on the Binance Smart Chain with BNB or with, whatever is on that marketplace, and bring it into our system. It gets burned. You get the Upliftium, and then you'll be able to withdraw that to any other chain that we're connected to, right?
Basically, we just want anyone in the crypto space to come in and play with us, right? That's what we want to build. That's what we want to create.
This kind of bridge. I mean, this is the first thing we're thinking of, right? Like, what comes after that? Because we just, like, as an organizing principle, we want to make sure that we're leveraging all of these chains and technologies and communities and connecting them as much as we possibly can, and then bring value to them, right? Like the not being able to move between networks easily has been super annoying to everyone for a long time. So let's just solve that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you guys are thinking in that way, because that's I'd like to think that everyone else, like the Crypto Voxels, Decentraland, Sandbox, everybody's really thinking that way. But like you said, there are there are some issues back and forth trying to figure it out. So I'd say in the next year or so, we're going to see some pretty seamless transitions happening between all these different, especially the really, really big brands like the Sotheby's and things like that coming into the space. They're going to say like, oh, that's funny that you guys aren't working together. You're going to work together now. Like
well, I mean, so like, it'd be really fun. It'd be really fun to build an Uplift world using whatever technology Roblox is using, right? So we can bring whatever we possibly can to a world like NFT ownership. Like, we need to figure out how to build. Like, we need to make the experience as Uplift-like as humanly possible. But where a player in that world can just like walk next door and be on the Grow Your Base lands. Yeah. Right. Do you think they'd be interested in doing something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the goal for us is to be just, similarly to your approach, agnostic. Like, members join our membership program, and they go to all of our lands across all these different places. So, we have tutorials set up where they're able to go into Decentraland, they're able to go into Sandbox and play mini games, they're able to go into Uplift World and see our beautiful banners and things like that. And they're able to go into all these different places with the center being the membership. So that was kind of our approach, to be chain agnostic and try to educate them to onboard onto all these different sites or all these different metaverse. Yeah. But ultimately it'd be much easier if it was just one tutorial and you go in and you can go across all of them. But I'm hoping that's what happens. Like, we slowly have to scale back the amount of onboarding to each one of these different places. And maybe it's you guys that crack the code. I'm hoping that it is, so that
there's interesting things when you throw.
I think the goal, right? It just depends on figuring out, like, what's the TCP of the metaverse, right? Like, where is that space going to be where information and experience can flow seamlessly between the different networks that are growing and iterating, right? And maybe we're a little ways away from there, but I get excited about what that might look like, right? Because like the network effect of all of us network together in a way that the user doesn't even notice is really intense, right? Like, see, as example, the entire internet that used to be a bunch of different intranets that sucked.
That's right.
Right, and I think it's really interesting when you throw NFTs in the mix, because like NFTs are kind of like the alpha of blockchain, but potential alpha of blockchain congruency with all of these different blockchains, right? Like, and I think that might actually be the one that's going to crack the code, because very soon you're going to be able to burn an NFT on Ethereum and have it pop up on Wax, right? Like, you're going to be able to burn an NFT on Wax and have it pop up on another place, right? So like, this actually, depending upon like the atomic assets and these other, great NFT platforms, this could actually potentially be a better, like a better transfer mechanism than like P tokens, for example, that they're doing with currencies, right? Because instead of like depositing into a contract and like worrying about it, what you do is like you burn it into a contract that automatically releases that same NFT on another chain, right? And that opens up a whole new world of possibilities, right? Like, you could potentially do that multiple times in a day to have access to multiple blockchains. I mean, that's potentially possible, right? Like, I don't know how to do it, but and it's kind of like and it's kind of overkill too, right? But like, right? But the possibility is there, right? Like, you can map these things in new ways that like a lot of really smart people are just trying to figure out. So I'm excited to see what happens in a year or 2 years, like not only with our project, like in the next 2 months or 3 months, but like, like you said, somebody's going to crack this code, and probably multiple people are going to crack this code in different ways that are just going to blow this space like up, right? Like it's going to be nuts, right? And this is like, I like the Binances of the world, right? Like, because they're looking at this kind of idea, like these second layer solutions, these integrations, these things like this, right? Like Wax is pretty good. Like, you know, even Telos, shout out to them, because like, you know, they're out of the EOSIO space, you know, doing their own thing. They're getting listed on all of these exchanges. They're doing these things that they weren't doing for so long because they were held back by like the EOS mainnet and Block One and all of this other stuff, and they had this bad vibe. Like, and I think where it's going to be interesting, because like Cosmos, right? Like it was on Ethereum as well, right? Like Solana, I think it was on Ethereum as well. Like Link was on Ethereum, and now all of these like projects, like, sorry, Link still does, but all these projects now have their own mainnets, right? Like Icon, Nano, all of these like bull market projects that ported away from Ethereum that are trying to beat Ethereum, I think are kind of realizing that they're having difficulty doing that because it wasn't as easy as they thought it would be. So now they're all looking at like, okay, how can we like bridge back to Ethereum, right? Like how can we like better Ethereum, right? And so like, how long does this last before they start bridging to each other, right? And we've seen like different projects do it. So sorry, that is my little rant about that. But yeah, there's a shard of wisdom in there that you have to dig really deep to find. But the good thing is like nobody will be able to decipher it, so I can keep it as mine for whenever I get smart enough to build it myself. Yeah. And
I like to think every once in a while, I've had this conversation with a couple of friends of mine that basically if you took our conversation today, right now, and copy and pasted it with 3 other individuals in 1997, if they were in 1997, 98, let's say, if they were talking about not the same technology issues, but similar issues as to like, all right, guys, what's it going to take for, you know, the network to get here? What's going to be next? What's going to be this tipping point? And I like to envision that if you could time travel back, it would be similar conversations that would be taking place, you know, like around scaling, around getting more people involved. And then Netscape happened and it just exploded and everybody started using. So I always like to think about that and reassure myself that like all this stuff that we're talking about is beautiful and important, and it's going to operate in the background. In 50 years from now, a grandma is going to be able to be using all this stuff seamlessly, and it's going to be just entirely a whole different world. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I agree. I've been telling a few people about. There's a video going around, just a couple of different ones, I think, where you know I think Bill Gates is talking about email on like some morning show in the 90s, and it's every no coiner, right? Like, oh, what? We're not going to send paper like mail anymore. Like, wow, you guys still think money's real? You know, it's the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Or like another good one is like Steve Jobs when he like introduced the iPhone. Like, what do I need a camera in my phone for? That's just stupid. Like, I have a camera. I don't need a phone to like, you know, take pictures or, you know, send email. Like it's going to be, yeah.
Yeah. And with the Gates one, there was one with him and David Letterman where he says like, oh yeah, one day you'll be able to listen to the baseball game across the internet. And Letterman just looks at him and looks at the audience and is like, have you not heard of radio? And everybody just starts laughing at Bill Gates for just, you know, not innovating, because radio is so innovative and didn't need to be replaced. And I think that's, like you said, every no coiner out there that's kind of bashing on the tech where it is today.
Yeah. They just don't get it, and they won't until they do. And you know, you got to meet people where they are, which is frustrating, but there it is. Hey guys, I gotta run. I'm 2 minutes late for another meeting. Steve, it's really good to meet you, man. I hope you'll come back like real soon.
Oh yeah, and we will release all the lands publicly soon.
When you do, feel free to come on our show because we will blow that shit up.
Excellent.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All righty.
I'll see you in a bit.
All right. Ciao.
Yeah. So, definitely, you know, add to what Corey said about really being impressed with everything that you guys are doing, and you, especially as an individual. Like, it's hard sometimes to follow people in the space. Like, that's one of my favorite things about doing the show is like we get to meet people like you.
Yeah.
Before I get pulled away, but sorry, we get to meet we get to meet people like you, who like we didn't even really know existed, and like obviously don't take offense to that, but there's so many people preaching things in out there in the world that like it's like normal life, right? Like we just kind of get into our thing where we have these people that we follow. But yeah, I'm really excited to, I subscribed to your YouTube channel today. I'm looking into a couple of the other projects that you're affiliated with, but yeah, I'm really excited to see these interviews pop up on the stream and watch more of you and your guests that you interview and all that you do from the education perspective. That's kind of where I came from the writing perspective early on when I first got into the space was, I was having trouble because I'm not really a tech person, and I don't understand how to do like a lot of the stuff, right? Like, or I didn't at that time, and I'm like, this is so confusing, right? Creating an Ethereum wallet or like, trying to figure out like which links are safe, and so like I started by like writing tutorials, basically for people that, like, to feel safe, like, because I had to figure it out all on my own, and I didn't want them to have to do that, right? I do a lot less of that now these days because I just don't have time. But like, I think that we really need to build a community, especially for our users in the Uplift or Uplift Art, because in a way, the Uplift world will become, as my friend Sean likes to say, it will become, through its NFTs and through its gameplay, it will become the gateway drug to crypto adoption of many of our users, right? Like they'll come in here, they'll learn about NFTs, they'll learn about Wax, they'll watch our show, they'll hear Corey talk about DeFi or me, interviewing guests like about the journeys in the Uplift world, and they'll see all of these things, and they won't really know where to go, right? Like for that information. So I'm really happy to have a person like you that's kind of in our network that we can say, hey, like, go see Steve, like, go watch his video. He has a great video on this, and like, if he can teach his parents how to use it, then he can probably teach you, right? Like that's gonna be nice.
Yeah, and there's often the misconception, like you said, when you first initially learn about this space and that it's so tech heavy, that people feel like they can't contribute, when in reality, just someone who's willing to educate, like yourself, and what I've really focused on, and a lot of amazing educators in the space have been focusing on, is just merely learning and sharing as you learn, and recording it and sharing it out there helps. Like it helps exponentially, because people are going to come in here. Hundreds of millions of people are going to come into this space, and they're going to be looking everywhere for how to use this, how to learn how to use this. And everyone out there that's not even comfortable recording, you don't even have to show your face. You could literally just record yourself using MetaMask or record yourself signing up for Uplift. You can just share these little tidbits of information that will help someone out there. And you don't necessarily have to be extremely tech heavy. You don't have to understand 100% how everything fits together and how the whole entire metaverse works. It's just going and doing it and recording it and documenting it is just what you need to do to help others. And it took me a while to figure that out. And, I do have some background in like game theory and economics, which helped me understand how it is working and how it's going to work. But for everybody that's wondering how they can fit in, and if they feel like they can't fit in, just go create some content about learning all the different intricacies that are in the space. That's my 2 cents for people out there that have that initial reaction. Cause I had the same one that you had, Jimmy, which was like, how do I fit in? How do I help? How do I contribute to this great revolution that's happening?
I mean, like, I still have that problem, right? Like today, so we just found out that an old project that I used to work with, which is Tribe. So they're starting another really interesting project, which they're trying to onboard merchants so that, like, their cryptocurrency can be used, Loop cryptocurrency can be used in Australia for merchants and merchant goods and stuff like that. And obviously, like, that's a really tough thing to do. And I saw an interview with Tom, and he said, we're still in the process because like getting people to use this cryptocurrency as businesses is really difficult, right? Like we knew that back from the Bitcoin Ethereum days, right? Yeah. But I guess they've decided, due to like I still keep in contact with them, even though I don't work with them, but I guess they've decided that due to what. I mean, it's fair enough. They basically said that they're going to port the social platform of Tribe over to the Terra blockchain as well, just because that blockchain is really supportive. Unlike they said EOS, which is a fair point. I mean, if you look at what Block One did for a long time, it was right. Like Wax is pretty supportive. Like we've had nothing but good experiences. It seems like Telos is supportive, right? Like Polkadot, Binance. There seems to be better mechanisms for funding. Now that's not to say that there won't be, goodness in EOS in the future, because I still do believe in it, but I'm not the type of person to think that like one will rule them all. Anyway, back to what I was saying, right? Like, so if you have to migrate your Tribe tokens, you have to send them to a contract, which they're going to deal with in a couple months, and then they're going to drop you some Tribe tokens on the Terra blockchain, I guess. But it's been so long since I've even like went in and looked at a new blockchain. I created like a new blockchain account that like I was a little bit freaked out. I'm like, I'm in there and I'm like looking at this web wallet that I have, and then like I go to the like actual site and I download like a desktop wallet, and I'm like all those old fears about like, losing all my money basically, even though it's not really that much. It's like, what the hell is like, why is this why? Okay, this is an extension. Like this is this safe? I don't know if an extension. Okay, well, let's get the desktop wallet. Well, why would the Tribe guys say get the extension if the desktop wallet was like, legit? Why wouldn't they just recommend getting the desktop wallet in the first place? Like, is this optimized for? And like, I used to be part of the team, right? And I'm just like, after about a half an hour, I just got up and I walked away. I'm just like, screw it, I'll freaking deal with this later. Because basically, this is going to take me like 3 hours of research just to figure out what I'm doing to enter a new blockchain account, right? And like, it's just ridiculous. And I think this is a reason why a lot of people get stuck in Ethereum, right? They go through this with Ethereum. There's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of information on how to use MetaMask, tutorials, really well done, things from My Ether wallet, right? By people like you, by people like us that like track all of this stuff, like Wax as well. But like people get in there and they look at some of these other blockchains and they're just like, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing this again. I don't have time for this. I'll just pay the fees. Yeah. Like, I'm not doing the transfers anyway, right? Like, yeah. And so that's like a really big problem, right? Like I don't know if you have any solution on how to get over that stepping stone, but we as an industry need to do better, right? And what drives me crazy is when I hear blockchain people say like, oh, it's really not that difficult. I mean, like Ethereum's like so much more difficult than EOS. EOS is confusing, like CPU, RAM. Like, Wax is confusing because it's not secure, because you have to have like a social login. It's like, make up your mind, right? Do you want it to be easy, or do you want like the masses to come in, right? Yeah. And what drives me nuts is like a lot of the OG guys, like they don't care if the masses come in. They've already made their millions, right? And so like they're like, oh, we're in it for the tech. No, you're not. You're in it because you made millions of dollars. Yeah. I mean, I'm in it for the tech, and I haven't made millions of dollars, but I hate the tech, right? Like I love the tech, but you know what I mean? Like try and like I'm really interested in that, because like my dad said to me, he's like, oh, like that's cool. You bought Bitcoin, like you did good. Like I should have bought it when you told me, and it was like back at 3,000, right? And I'm like, yeah, you should have. And he's like, oh, well, it's too late now. And I'm like, well, at least you got that right. Like, because it was at like 50,000 at that point, right? Like it had, and he's like, that's kind of too late now. And I'm like, he was right, right? Like, where are we now? We're back down at like 30 something, right? And so like, at least he got that part of the mentality right. Like he didn't buy in at the top, right? But it's kind of like, I'm just fascinated by that story of your parents, and 2014, no less. Like that's the highlight of my week, actually.
Yeah, right before Mt. Gox completely collapsed. And you mentioned that you were in Japan. You're in Japan, or are you near Tokyo?
No, I'm not. I'm not a big fan of Tokyo. I live in the center of Osaka, actually. Right in the middle.
Got it.
But I think, yeah.
The reason I bring it up is we're actually doing an event in Tokyo tomorrow Grow Your Base is sponsoring an NFT art event called Cryptokyo in Tokyo. So I was just wondering if you were near there or not. But
I mean, if you give me next time, if you give me like a 1 week notice, like it's a 2 hour train ride. I can get on a train and I can go, and I would love to go like and actually even cover it for this show. Like that would be awesome. It's funny because Corey and I were talking about doing stuff like this. So if you ever do something back in Japan again, give me the notice and I'll make sure that I'm there to cover it, because I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah, I will. We work closely with Sasha over at the Blockchain Art Exchange, and he's an awesome guy, and he is really working heavily, and he's based in Tokyo, and he's working constantly on getting artists in the space and really kind of merging the two worlds. So there's going to be like Beeple art there. There's going to be all sorts of really cool art that's unveiled for the first time, and we're going to do more events there.
I'd actually love to have you back on alongside him. I think that would be really cool to explore that idea. And we don't get nearly enough people from Asia on this channel, if I'm honest, because it's an English speaking channel.
Yeah.
And my Japanese is rough. We could do it, but then nobody would watch it, right? Like nobody's gonna subtitle that. So it's like, but I work with a few different block producers and stuff like that, or different projects I have. But I would love to cover that, because that's in my backyard essentially, right?
And often what I will say is, especially people in the United States, even myself, we do kind of have blinders on sometimes when we talk about adoption and things like that, where we're focusing on, like you said, English speaking in the US, the UK, stuff like that. But the real disruption is happening in places like El Salvador and things like that, that we see. And often, we don't focus on that specifically. So I like doing events in places like Tokyo, places that are outside of these places that we normally operate in. And it's always exciting to me to see these types of events taking place in these different
Is that the first one that you guys are going to do?
Yes, that is the first one in Japan that we're doing. We want to do some in South America. We want to do some in
it's only a 1 day event. It's only happening 1 day.
So it starts tomorrow, but it is going to be going through, let's see what the actual dates are. Exhibition date, June 26th to July 11th.
Oh, Jesus.
And July 17th to July 22nd.
Send me the dates. I'll go for sure.
All right. And it's at the Ultra Super New Gallery in Tokyo.
Yeah. Put me in touch with, who did you say? And I'll go for a day or a night, and I'll cover it live on this channel.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be great. I think it's.
Yeah, sorry. I have to work tomorrow, but if it's only a 1 day event, but I'm teaching a little bit in my real world job still, because I haven't went full crypto yet. But that's a 2.5 hour train ride, and I've got a 1.5-year-old daughter, and my missus isn't really working, and I could definitely jump on I'm not going to be here in August. I'm going to do something else in August. I'm going to go visit family. But July, I've got quite a few days that I could definitely I can spend 3 or 4 days in Tokyo. No problem. Let me cover it, please. And so we'll be in touch with that. We'll blow that out of the water for this channel, because I just think it would be cool. We've done one episode where Corey and Ken Bozak kind of hung out in a hotel room before some conference in Miami, but not really much has happened in terms of live coverage, and it's something that our team's kind of been playing around with. We kind of would like to go live on location. So yeah, thank you. I'm really happy that I hung out a little bit longer, because
yeah. I'll ping Sasha and try and get you guys in touch.
Yeah,
and, that would be a lot of fun, just because it's supporting the ecosystem there, and we're really trying to think globally about this. We're trying to get everybody involved.
Totally.
All over the place.
I mean, and it'll be the first time I've ever worn a mask on screen too. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm super excited about that. These made by July. That's great. I love it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for having me on, Jimmy.
Yeah, and please come back again. Like Corey said, we have this thing where you know, we just decided that, like, because we do what we do with Uplift Art, with the Uplift world, and now with Yoshi Drops as well, you know, we built this community that, you know, we like being a part of, right? Like, we like being a part of the community, even the people who show up in the comments, the people who watch the shows. But even more so, we like the relationship that we've built up with a lot of these projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, you guys are in the world, you're building, you're doing some awesome stuff. And to go back to, like, kind of what we were saying before, the metaverse is kind of like the Uplift world, in a way. It's kind of like a means to an end, right? Like at being on Minecraft, it's a means to an end, right? Like, it doesn't need to live there indefinitely. Right? Like, as the technology gets bigger and better, the spirit of this metaverse will grow with it, right? And all of those projects that have been involved or are involved, and all of those individuals that, like, are part of it, right? That's gonna grow with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of my favorite, you know, one of our favorite, like, builds is I think it's the lads, and they, like, recreated the trailer park for Ready Player One, right? It's
Nice.
it's really good. And this is the thing, right? Like, there's some of my favorite YouTubers that I used to follow back in the day. I don't so much anymore. They were this, like, early group of YouTubers that used to just kind of get together and go on each other's shows, and they were like friends, and they all kind of did their own thing. And that's kind of what I see coming out from, like, you and a lot of other content creators, right? Like, I will never view, you know, any of the other YouTubers or any of the other content creators or any of the other blockchains as a competition. What I'll view it as is, like, an opportunity for us to all, like, get together, learn, and grow together, right? Because that's what we're all, that's what we're all, you know, here for, right? Like, or maybe not everyone in the crypto space, but those are the people I want to hang out with. Right? Like, I want to hang out with the people that, like, build other people up, that like, empower other people, that get us beyond, you know, where we came from and why we all got into this, right? And we have way better chance of doing that with you know, our in numbers, with our own specialized tailorization. So once again, go follow Steve, follow his channel. You know, I watched, like I said, I just kind of found it, but I've watched a little parts of your interviews already in the last 24 hours, and, like, he does a really good job. And if you don't, like, believe that he does a really good job, watch back the middle part of this interview where he interviewed us, and he did a wonderful job there too.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, the people that all boats rise, I think that mentality needs to be driven home in this space, and it has, and will be, by the true OGs in this space that believe in it and see the revolution that's going on. The people that, like you said, that made a bunch, you know, peeled off a few $1 million, and they don't care about adoption. Those types of people, as you said, not interested in communicating with. It's about the all boats rise people out there that are creating content, building communities, working together, because everybody wins when we work together. So yeah, it was a pleasure coming on the show, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, great. And we'll see you really soon again, Steve. Thanks.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. I get confused here. Where's the ready?